What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Making a turn on the week already. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You got your Google and Alexa speakers, smart speakers. Got the app. Download the Sports Talk app. Take it on the go. Video streams also up and rolling on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter and Instagram here this morning. What do we got on a good old Wednesday morning game plan for us? We're going to talk a little Brewers here as the Brew Crew falling last night and Carlos Rodriguez's major league debut, 3-0 loss for the Crew. The Brewers still will try to win this series with a day game today. First pitch scheduled around 1:10. 1:10. We're going to get Tobias Myers on the mound again for the Crew. He's coming off of that fantastic performance this last Friday where he went 8 innings. But Brewers fallen yesterday, and really Rodriguez, I don't think pitched awful. I know Pat Murphy was hoping he would get to 6 innings. He ended up going 3 2/3, 7 hits. Did put himself in a couple of jams here or there, but also got out of them. So I mean, his final line: 3 2/3, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, just one walk over there too. Did begin his major league career with a strikeout, but Brewers is a team 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position again. So, but offense totaled up just 5 hits, 5 hits in the contest yesterday. So, as we said, Brewers again will try to go for another series sweep before they have an off day scheduled tomorrow. And then after that, the Reds will be coming to town for a 3-game series, 3-game weekend series. And then little trip to California, West Coast trip, where they've got 3 games against the Angels and then 4 against the Padres. So we'll talk a little Brewers, including the Crew, getting a little bit more, shall we say, national love, not just pub, but love out there. We got a couple pieces I want to kind of hit up on from Buster Olney from the Athletic and such. A couple tidbits about this Brewers team. So we're gonna hit that up, and then we've got potential trade chips whose stock is rising. This is according to MLB.com. Any of these guys that we're going to be taking a look at, could they be potential hits, or I should say potential targets for the Crew come the trade deadline? So we got some baseball talk coming at you. We're going to talk a little football as mini camps for the Pack and a lot of other teams out there yesterday. So we're going to go through that. Isn't it kind of nice? I mean, the big topic out there in the NFL world with mini camps and such. It's with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers again. So Aaron Rodgers, I think it was a bad PR thing. So I mean, Robert Saleh yesterday saying Aaron was not at minicamp. He has an inexcused. Anybody who has kids and you know the difference between excused and inexcused, he has an inexcused absence, but he's at something that's very important to Rodgers, whatever that is. But is it getting a little overblown? I think so. I do think it's getting a little bit overblown, but it's New York, and right now on the cover of the New York Post this morning, it's got a picture of A-Raj with the line "full of hot air." So, yeah, kind of thought about how is the media going to be with Rodgers over there. There you have it. But with the Green Bay side of things, Kenny Clark kind of let it be known yesterday that the Packers and his agents working on a long-term deal, working on an extension with the Pack. according to this was via Ashley Washburn. On You can check out the video if you have like Twitter/X or anything like that. But Kenny Clark said it's still ongoing, but they're talking. I love it here. I love my teammates. I love the organization. Hopefully, everything will work out. Kenny Clark feels like he's been around for a long time, right? I mean, he just feels like he has been around for like 10 plus years. Well, I mean, he was drafted in 2016, but he's still only 28. He's still only 28. He's going to turn 29 in October. And I I think his best football is in front of him. I think he's still got a few good years of football in front of him. And personally, I mean, last year too, I think he kind of went under the radar. Guy had 7.5 sacks. Kenny Clark had 7.5 sacks last year, which I might have flown under the radar, I think, a bit. But I think he's primed. I really believe that he is primed within this new style of defense coming in with what Jeff Hafley wants to bring, with what he is going to bring to the table. I think Kenny Clark is in line to have a career year. I that's where I'm at right now. I that's where I think he's gonna have a fantastic season. I think he's gonna have a fantastic couple of years here with this new style defense where they want their defensive linemen to be aggressive and to get into the backfield and to get after the quarterback and such. So I think Kenny Clark is going to have a fantastic year. So, but Packers apparently work on that, which really probably shouldn't be too much of a surprise if anybody's kind of caught off guard on that. It's not that big of a surprise. It was kind of speculated. Would they do something with him and lock him up for a couple more years here? When you look at his uh, his current contracts right now, and remember too, we talked about where they are at in terms of salary cap space available for this season. And Kenny Clark right now has the highest cap hit. I mean, he's at a 27. If we round it up, he's at about 27 and a half million dollar cap hit. And Green Bay still has plenty of cap space this year, around that 30, give or take a couple million here or there. And he's going to be, if you're looking at it, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. So Green Bay looking at this thing saying, let's get this done. Maybe let's lower the cap hit for this year. We create a little bit more space, and we got him locked up for a couple more years here. So I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it. I know the other day we went through our, underrated Packer players to set up that region. So hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have that entire bracket out and we can start to debate and talk about or discuss who the biggest underrated Wisconsin sports athlete is of all time. I don't know how Kenny Clark's career is going to finish off, but I do feel like Kenny Clark is kind of in that discussion, maybe, that for a more recent player, does he tend to get a little underrated? Does he tend to kind of get forgotten? And is it because of him? I don't know if it's because of him. Is it the style of defense that he was asked to play and such? I think that's kind of part of it. I do think that's part of it. And it's rare, especially in Green Bay too, but it's rare, and given the position he's at, defensive lineman. This will be his third contract overall and second big time payday. If we count the rookie deal that he signed in 2016 when he was drafted, then in 2020, he signed a 4-year, $70 million extension. And then if he gets another one here, I mean, Kenny Clark will have made some pretty good money. So some pretty good money here. But he's coming off of career high in sacks last year too, and given that position he's played at for the majority part of his career, I think I think he's gotten a little underrated, overlooked. You know, when you think of defensive linemen, you think of the Aaron Donalds, and you think of those guys who are constantly going after the quarterback, right? Getting the sacks, racking up the sack numbers, and that wasn't necessarily Kenny Clark's job, or was supposed to be his job, his duties, whatever you want to say, throughout the majority part of his career. And I think that's going to change. I really do think that's going to change. And he has been Mr. kind of reliable and consistent. I mean, he has played since 2016 double-digit games every single year. Every single year he has played double-digit games. The lowest amount of games he has played was 13 in a season, and he did that twice, 2018, 2020. Otherwise, he has played 16, 15, 13, 16, 13, 16, 17, and 17. And he has started every single one of those games that he has played since his second year in the league. He's only credited with 2 starts in 2016. So I want to talk a little bit more about Kenny Clark, talk a little bit more about the Pack coming up here in just a little bit. Also, it is a Wednesday, so we'll do some business of sports coming at you in just a couple hours from now. Should also note, shout out to Oliva Strum, keeping on the local side here. Oliva Strum advancing to the state championship game for high school for the high school baseball state championships. They defeated Pacelli yesterday 3-2 with a go-ahead 2-run double in the bottom half of the 6th inning there. So congrats to Oliva Strum. They're going to be in action tomorrow, taking on Solon Springs and Northwood. And then Cumberland fell just short yesterday in their state championship game. They fell to Aquinas yesterday. So the Express also, they fell to the Woodchucks last night, but they'll be back at Carson Park tonight taking on the Woodchucks. NBA Finals also begin, or I should say Game 3 begins tonight. So pivotal, crucial, however we want to phrase it, game for the Dallas Mavericks, as Boston is easily in control of this series, up 2-0, 2-0 in this series thus far. So we got that going on. Speaking of hoops, so we've done the Packers. I've got the names of the Badgers. I've got a bunch of names here. I got to tabulate the votes here. So we'll have the 16 members, a part of our Badger region, as we decide who the most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete is of all time. We're going to do Brewers at the end of the week here. And then we got kind of an open division where we're going to put Bucks and some other athletes, whether they're Olympians or maybe from other colleges or whatever the case may be. But when it comes to the Bucks, this is what I'm going to ask you for help with. Who would you say is perhaps the most underrated Bucks player of all time? Or give me a couple. Give me a couple. Who do you think they are? So obviously, we're not talking about Giannis. We're not talking about Kareem. We're not talking about the Big O. You know, we're not talking about the best Bucks players of all time. But we're talking about the underrated ones. And I want to give you a name, and you tell me if he deserves to be in this conversation. Drew Holiday. Now, I think Drew Holiday, when we look at his career in the NBA, has been incredibly underrated. Overall, his entire career, underrated. That's my opinion. But when we look at his tenure with the Bucks, was he underrated or not? When we look at what he did with the Bucks, how he was viewed with the Bucks, et cetera, et cetera. Should we put Drew Holiday with his time into this conversation as one of the most underrated Bucks players of all time? And who else are you going to put in there? All right, Hoops fans, I want to hear from you. Hit me up with those texts. Who would you put as part of our bracket challenge of Wisconsin's most underrated athlete. We love a good underdog story, right? Who would you put from the Bucks in there? And does Drew Holiday belong in that conversation? Because I still feel like his entire career he has been, but is it fair to say that during the it was he did he get a little bit more attention, proper attention when he was with the Bucks? Well, what do you think? All right, hit me up with your yays and nays and your nominations and all that fun stuff. All right, so there you go. That's the game plan here this morning. Let's jump in. Join in the convo. I want to hear from you. All right. What's on your mind this morning? Let me know. Hit me up with that text or comment on the video stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. It's a beautiful day to talk a little sports and have a little fun. So join in on the convo. All right. I want to hear from you. We'll take that break and we'll get things really humming this morning and rolling with the leadoff. We're going to talk a little Brewers. We'll talk a little green and gold and all that fun stuff here this morning. All right. Get those texting fingers going here. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Father's Day is coming up here, so we got just a few days. You better find something for Dad there. And if your dad's a hunter, deer hunter, turkey hunter, whatever the case may be, you better make a hot a hot. What am I trying to say? Quick trip. I was trying to come up with a creative phrase, and I can't do it. Better make a quick trip over to our good friends at Tilden Gun. You can also visit their website, tildengun.com. But Sean and Hunter over there, they'll help you find that perfect gift for that father figure in your life, whether they are a deer hunter or a turkey hunter. Probably maybe not thinking about hunting too much right now with it being in the middle of June here, but before you know it, deer season, turkey fall season is going to be here before you know it. Maybe a little duck hunting out there, fall will be here before you know it. So go check them out. Find just what you're looking for. If you have a particular one in mind, Sean Hunter will help you find that one too, because they've got amazing customer service over there at Tilden Gun. But again, you can check out their website, tildengun.com. And if you want to order online, if you probably won't be here by Father's Day, but if you want to order online, because it is already Wednesday, super simple. I've done that before with Tilden Gun, and it was really quick though too. So, but fantastic customer service over there with the biggest selection and the best prices in the area. All right, we've got big thanks. We already got a few texts coming in here about the Bucks here. G-Man, DK Brewers win today. Tech series. Good names here: Terry Cummins, Brian Winters, and Alex English. His Bucks are underrated players. Bear with the text in. Marcus Johnson, Paul Presley, Bob Lanier, and Sidney Moncrief. I like Holiday, but wasn't here long enough. Keep those coming. Keep them coming. Hit us up with the text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Also, I want to throw this in here when we get to a little green and gold chat in just a skosh here. But a lot of talk about where is Zach Tom going to play this year? And Zach Tom said he's more comfortable playing at tackle. He's personally open to playing anywhere. He said if they want me to move inside, it is what it is. I wouldn't say no. But I'm not sure what my agent would say. And he's not wrong. It's not wrong. Because, let's face it, tackles make more money than guards. So, he's not wrong there. And if he prefers to stay there and the Packers take that into account, I'm really curious to see how this offensive line shakes out. Now, when you factor in the Jordan Morgan pick. So if Zach Tom plays at right tackle, you've got Josh Myers then probably going to be your center. Elton Jenkins going to be your left guard. That leaves potentially left tackle still open for a job unless Rasheed Walker has that nailed down. And then right guard opened up over there. But you got Sean Ryan too. So, man, it's going to be interesting to kind of follow along when we get to training camp and such. We'll get to that football stuff here in a second here. But first, let's chat a little baseball. Brewers falling yesterday to the Blue Jays. Carlos Rodriguez's debut gets charged with a loss. Only goes 3 2/3. Pat Murphy was hoping that he would be able to go 6 innings in the game last night, but not able to do that. But I think there were some positives to take away from the game. Murphy even said, I'm really pleased. I thought he threw the ball well, and I thought he showed tremendous poise. And when you look at the line, when you look at his lines, outside the 3 2/3, yes, he gave up 7 hits. He had a few strikeouts there, a couple earned runs on their charge with 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. And he put himself into some tough positions too. But for the most part, he got out of those situations without a ton of damage. I mean, if you're listening or watching the game and you saw a couple of those, situations, like, oh boy, this has a chance to maybe be blown out right away. Like the Blue Jays could really put up some big runs right here. And they didn't do that. So I thought Rodriguez, showed some flashes. He showed some of his speed there. Little off. I mean, first of all, the strike zone too. If you're a right-handed hitter and the right outside of the plate was kind of open over there, so there was some issues with that. But you could tell. I mean, a little high on a few of his pitches over there too. Little control stuff. Was it some butterflies or anything like that? Probably. I'm sure he was a little bit nervous and such. But he got the first start under his belt. Got his major league debut under his belt. Hopefully, it's nothing but upwards from now on. He did show some stuff. He showed some talent last night. Was it perfect? No. Was it a Robert Gasser type of performance out there? No. But I think you could take some positives out of Carlos Rodriguez's first career start last night. I don't know if he's going to be making another starts. A lot's going to depend on the health of this rotation, the health of everybody else. Will they get some arms back and such? We'll see. Time will tell. Rodriguez said after the game, I feel like I was really confident because I've been in situations like that. So I don't have a problem with that. Just keep doing what I do. Going out there with the double zeros too, with a jersey. Pretty sweet. I thought that was pretty cool. So Rodriguez also said, after that first inning, I felt like I was falling behind hitters a little bit. I had a lot of weak contacts, but I have to work on getting ahead of hitters. That first inning was a little short, so I couldn't see what was working at the time. In the pen, I felt like everything was working well. I was just leaving a lot of pitches up, which we kind of just alluded to there a little bit. So Brewers still will try to win this series later this afternoon. Day game. First pitch is scheduled at 1:10. And Tobias Myers getting another start coming off of his fantastic start last Friday, where he went 8 innings, picking up the win. Tobias, a guy who has been up and down between the majors and the minors, call-ups, send-downs, and, kind of a guy that has been shuffled all over the place because of the injuries to this pitching staff and such. But Tobias Myers, we'll see what he can do coming off of his 8 innings, 1 hit, 5 strikeout performance against Detroit the other day. I mean, if he goes out there and he throws another awesome game, to expect him to go out there and throw another 8 inning, 1 hit shutout, probably a little bit too high of expectations, to be fair, to be honest. But I mean, if the guy goes out there and pitches incredibly well, why not keep him in that rotation? Who are you holding it for at this point in time? You got too many other injuries out there. So I think this is a chance for Tobias Myers later this afternoon to go out there, put together another solid performance, and potentially keep a spot in this rotation. To see him go 8 innings and to touch 100 pitches that day in Detroit, I think was a big moment because the most pitches he has thrown up until that point in any game was 84. 84 pitches that he threw in 4 innings back on May 9th against the St. Louis Cardinals. A little bit, we'll see how he does with this lineup with the Toronto lineup over there, but I think Tobias has a shot. I think he has a shot to really kind of solidify himself into the starting rotation right now if he goes out there and puts together another solid performance. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. All right, let's take a really quick break here because I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk a little green and gold football. Kenny Clark let it be known yesterday, kind of leaked it out that him and the Packers, they're talking about an extension. The talk all offseason has been about Jordan Love and his extension with the Packers. But Kenny Clark is also entering his final year here too. And he let it be known yesterday that his agent and the team have been talking. They've been talking. Do you think Kenny Clark, because it's a theme that we've talked about a little bit this week, has been underrated, overlooked, underappreciated? I think Kenny Clark has been a little underappreciated, underrated. I don't know if we've seen the full on potential of Kenny Clark yet. I'm excited. I am pumped to see him in this new defense with Jeff Hafley. I think it's going to do wonders for the 28-year-old guy. Seems like he's been around for 10 plus years. He's 28. He's going to turn 29 in October. It's kind of rare to see, especially when it comes to Green Bay, a guy potentially get a sec. Actually, it'll technically be his third deal if you count his rookie deal, but a second big time deal. He's going to get paid. Kenny Clark's going to get paid. And he's got the highest cap hit this year. So an extension would lower that cap hit this year. Packers already in a decent cap space for this year, which, at this point in time, not really any free agent moves, but you can get deals like this done, put those cap hits on this year's cap hit, put some of the money on this year's cap. That's a typical Green Bay way. So I want to talk a little bit about that and Zach Tom saying he feels more comfortable at tackle. I thought it was kind of it, he's not wrong when he put out the agent comment. Yeah, I think my agent probably doesn't want me to move inside. It's not wrong. But was that kind of also a hidden message to Green Bay saying, hey, keep me at tackle. I want to stay at tackle. And if he is that tackle, where does Jordan Morgan fit into this equation? So, all right, we'll take a break and finish up the second hour after these quick words. You doing some remodeling in your home or office, your personal space, wherever the case may be. You gotta work from the ground up, right? Gotta work from the floor up, and that's why you gotta start to go visit our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Redo that flooring, update that flooring in your space, whether it's new carpet, new tile, luxury vinyl planks or such, or maybe you want to help dad redo his man cave out there or his rec room or something like that for Father's Day. Go visit our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center because they will help you find the perfect style for your space, but also the best prices in the area because they will match or beat the competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. All right. The entire staff over there will help you. They're awesome people to work with. Ben, Aaron, Jason, the entire team over there is just awesome. Stop by. They'll work with you. Find that color. Find that style that is best suited for your space. We've used them in our house, our home for many occasions there, and will continue to do so for all of our projects too. So if you're doing a little remodeling or you want to do a little remodeling, nowhere else to go. But when it comes to your flooring game, then Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. All right, let's finish up this first hour here. I want to talk a little green and gold because yesterday we had mini camps. Okay, so Keyshawn Nixon, Jair, Xavier McKinney, excused absences. Here's the difference between excused and inexcused. If the Jets, I'll get to this a little bit later on, but if they would just simply have used the word maybe excused absence, this thing would be not all over the place when it comes to Rodgers and such. But anyways, back to Green Bay and that. Kenny Clark was chatting a little bit with the media over there, and said that his agent and his team have been talking about an extension. You probably saw the video clip from Ashley Washburn out there, but Kenny Clark said still ongoing, but they're talking. I love it here. I love my teammates. I love the organization. Hopefully everything will work out. Kenny Clark is set to make around $17 million in his final year of his contract. He'll turn 29 in October. He's got the highest cap hit on the ball club right now. So if he were to get an extension done, one would have to assume that that cap hit will go lower for this year, or maybe because the Packers, from all accounts, looks like they're in decent cap space. Maybe they take a little bit more on this year. We've seen Green Bay do that. Got a Jordan Love extension that Brian Gutekunst said that they would love to get done before training camp. So, I mean, potentially here in the next month or so, we could see a couple of long-term extensions done for the Pack coming up here. Kenny Clark and Jordan Love. I know all offseason, and we'll continue to talk about it. Others will continue to talk about it leading up to the start of the season, about the excitement with his defense. Quay Walker yesterday was answering a question from Larry McCarron, calling him Mr. Larry. I loved that too, by the way. But talked about the chemistry of this team and where they're at right now and just the excitement. We talked about Keyshawn Nixon and his excitement. But Quay Walker was like, Mr. Larry, I'd be lying to you if I said we wasn't about being in a good spot right now. Honestly, I've been on a championship team and I understand that it's college and this is the NFL, but the chemistry is there already. That's a good sign. By the way, Quay Walker, about Edrin Cooper, his running mate, and what he's seen everything, man. He's showing flashes, getting downhill, playing, flying around. The biggest thing for me, I just tell him, don't do any thinking, bro. Just fly around. If you mess up, it is what it is. You're a rookie. Just take what you can learn from this rookie mini camp, and go from there. That's all you can do. But he's been flying around, pretty excited about that. But back to Kenny Clark here. And with this excitement with his defense and we're still in the honeymoon phase with everything. But I honestly do feel like Kenny Clark is one of those players that is going to greatly benefit with this new style, with this 4-3 up front, with what Jeff Hafley wants his defensive linemen to do. He wants them to shoot the gaps. He wants them to be aggressive. And, for the last, I think throughout Kenny Clark's entire career, He's been asked to play a position where, okay, eat up some blocks and let the linebackers make some of the plays here. That's not going to be the case this year. He's going to have an opportunity to make more plays. He's going to have that opportunity. Now, I'm sure offensive line are going to key up on him and really focus on him. But, you got Rashawn Gary on one side, Preston and Lucas Van Ness on the other side there. Tackles are going to have to pay attention to him. This is where I think Devontae Wyatt is going to benefit from a Kenny Clark. But if Devontae Wyatt makes that year 3 jump, Kenny Clark's going to benefit from Devontae Wyatt here too. So it's all, I mean, it's a trickle-down effect there. But Kenny Clark, I think, playing in this style where he's going to be allowed to be a little bit more aggressive, I think is going to pay huge dividends for him, and I think it's going to pay huge dividends for this defense. He's coming off of his highest sack numbers of his career, 7.5 last year. Will he get double digits? I don't know. But, I do think he has been kind of overlooked, kind of underrated. He's got a couple of Pro Bowls under his belt. But when you talk about defensive linemen, from the last 10 years or so, Aaron Donald, right? You talk about Aaron Donald. Maybe you talk about J.J. Watt playing 3-4 end. You talk about some of the other defense like Fletcher Cox, those guys, Jones in Kansas City, guys who are getting after the quarterback and racking up some of those numbers, right? Racking up a lot of TFLs, tackles for loss. Whereas Kenny Clark was kind of being the ultimate team player and, all right, I'll eat up the gaps. I'll eat up some of the blockers, and hopefully these linebackers can make some plays over there. I think you're going to see Kenny Clark kind of jump out in the stat sheet this year. I'm really excited to see 97 in this new style of defense, and I do think he has been a little underrated. And I think that's because we haven't quite seen his full potential, and I hope he still has enough left in the tank. I know he's going to be 29, but he's got, 8-9 years under his belt already. I hope he's still got enough left so we can see that potential there. Zach Tom also yesterday saying that he's more comfortable playing tackle, but the Packers asked him to move inside. He would do that. He doesn't know if his agent would be okay with that, which makes complete sense. Tackles make more money than interior offensive linemen. Guards have been getting some big-time deals out there too, but if you've gone out there and shown that you could play tackle and you could play tackle at a Pro Bowl level, you're going to get paid. You're going to get some moolah. And it's no doubt. I mean, it's not a surprise that his agent would feel that way. More dollars for his client, more dollars for the agent. And I do think there's a little bit more of like a little bit of a shine, a little bit of to say that you play tackle, I think maybe for some's like that means a little bit more. Like, oh, you play tackle, you got to you're protecting the quarterback's blind side or the right side over there against some of the top edge rushers out there. So I think there's a little bit, a little notion to that too. But if he does stay at right tackle, if that's where he's most comfortable and that's where the Packers are going to keep him at is right tackle, how does that play out for the rest of the offensive line? And that's going to be so interesting to watch when we get to training camp and preseason and such, because we know Tom's going to be a starter. But the question was and is, where is he going to start? Is it still going to be at right tackle? Is it going to be at center? Could he be a guard? Could they move him to right guard and Jordan Morgan goes over at right tackle? It's great to have that versatility with that offensive lineman, but sometimes it could be a little bit of a detriment too. It's like, man, where, we could plug him in there, but then you're asking a guy like, hey, you got to learn to do this, you got to learn to do that, instead of just kind of focusing on one position. Versatility makes things easier on that aspect from a team-wise, but maybe not the greatest on an individual player. But if Zach Tom is going to play right tackle, and that's where they're going to keep him, and that's where they're going to stick with him. We know Elton Jenkins is going to stick at left guard. Elton Jenkins is kind of that example for Zach Tom. Elton Jenkins, in the first few years of his career, he was moved all around the place. Then they tried him at right tackle. It just wasn't working out. Went back to his position at left guard, and they're not going to move him over there anymore. Maybe in a pinch or an emergency. but he's solidified now at left guard. So if Zach Tom's going to be that right tackle, trickle-down effect means Myers is going to be the center this year. I think this will be his final year, unless he just goes out there and absolutely balls out. But I think you look at the draft class from this year, and you can kind of get a sense like this is probably going to be his last year. I mean, Monk from Duke is, I think, in line to be the next center. Then you got left tackle and right guard. Walker showed flashes last year. Is he going to be that starting left tackle? Or Morgan, who a guy that played left tackle at Arizona, a lot of draft people thought he's better suited at guard. Packers talked about, still trying him out at left tackle. Do they do that? Or does he slot in at right guard, replace John Runyon? Or Sean Ryan, does he finally get his chance? Does he finally get his opportunity? Graded out better as a run blocker. If I were betting right now, I think Morgan's going to be your starting right guard. I think that's where he's going to be. I think it's going to be Walker at left tackle. And that's not to say Morgan will be right guard his entire career. But I think it's going to be starting off at right guard. I think Myers is going to be your center. Elton Jenkins is left guard. And I think they're going to give Walker that shot right away to play, to run away with that left tackle position. That's my guess right now at June 12th or wherever we're at. Yeah, June 12th. But I think I do believe that if they go into training camp and Morgan makes some flash, they're going to give Morgan some opportunities at left tackle like they kind of have been with OTAs and minicamp and such. They're going to give him some opportunities. And I don't know. It's very possible, too, and I know this will probably upset some Packers fans because you can't have a first-round pick on the bench. It's completely possible, too, where they open up the season and Sean Ryan is your starting guard, and then maybe eventually Morgan comes in and is a starter. Remember, Elton Jenkins wasn't a starter right away, and he was a second-round pick, came in. Brian Bulaga wasn't a starter right away. He was a first-round pick, ended up replacing Tauscher when Tauscher got hurt at right tackle, and the rest is history. So there's a very good chance even week one when they open up, Sean Ryan's going to be your starting right guard. Walker's going to be your starting left tackle. And then it's just kind of a waiting game to see when Jordan Morgan is going to be in that starting lineup. They're not going to put a guy out there as a starter just because he has the first round label attached to him. All right. We might get back to some more football talk, but you can hit me up with a text if you'd like on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Keep these coming too. We had a Desmond Mason pick. We're looking for some underrated Bucks players to fill out one of our regions. Desmond Mason, slam dunk champion. Spent a couple years with the Bucks there. I will say if we're not going to put Drew Holiday in because he didn't play long enough, Desmond Mason only played. He had a couple stints. But I think total maybe 4 years with the Bucks over there. But yeah, won the slam dunk competition when he was with Seattle and such. Oh, I remember Desmond. So let's finish up the first hour though with Morgs. Good morning, Morgan.
Hey, what's the latest from Casperland?
I got nothing.
Nothing. Where are you feeling right now in your sports? Your general vibes? Do you like the summer sports? Or are you starting?
July is the worst month of sports.
Tell me why.
I mean, you're kind of, you got baseball going on, but it's kind of like the dog days of summer. You got the All-Star break, and then you got a week long of like nothing going on.
Okay.
Training camp starts at the end of the month, but basketball's pretty much over with. Stanley Cup's over with. There's not a lot going on, and I think at that
golf, or only if you're playing it. Are you a watch it too, or are you only if you're playing it?
You got the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
But golf in July is like the last major too.
Now, do you care about Summer Olympics at all?
Maybe a couple events.
Okay, but only the interesting ones that get all the publicity, not the rest of the ones?
I was reading an article about this last night, trying to fall asleep.
Yeah.
The new sports that are in it.
Uh-huh.
Sports.
Uh-huh.
Breakdancing.
Oh, I saw the air quotes go up. So
yeah.
Are you going to watch the breakdancing Olympics? No. Okay.
No.
Well, the fact that you were reading it to go to sleep pretty much puts it in perspective for us.
Yeah,
where your
and
interest
I wasn't sure which
at.
ones they were putting on, and I'm like, because I saw the picture, I'm like, Yeah, it was breakdancing.
Okay, so then what is the best month of sports? Are you going Super Bowl? Or are you going fall when NFL kicks off? Or what's the best month for sports?
April,
Because
NFL draft, the Masters, baseball's going on. You got the national championship Final Four for men's basketball.
okay.
NBA playoffs are starting. NHL playoffs are going too.
Now, what about the best calendar month overall? Sports not even factored in, just like your favorite month, best and worst month on the 12-year calendar as we know it.
October.
Best?
Mm-hmm.
Fall and hunting?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Football's going on.
And then you get back
Baseball
into
World Series.
schools in session again, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite month? Mine is March.
I was honestly thinking March a little bit.
It's kind of like the purgatory on the calendar.
Yeah,
It's
basketball's
kind of
starting.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like away from sports, you could get snow, it could be warm, everything's muddy, it's a little dirty, nothing's completely committed to a season yet. It all just feels very wishy-washy in March.
Really quick, because I wanted to tell you this before you get out of here, because yesterday you were talking about road driving.
Yeah, pet peeves and road rage.
This was Veronica coming back from baseball
Yeah.
yesterday. She sent me this video because me and Hudson stayed back a little bit. On our road, a car, and she recorded this video, and where her odometer was
Yeah.
5 miles an hour. She was going
Oh my
following this
gosh.
car.
5?
Yeah,
She could have got out and walked.
yeah,
And passed the guy
yeah,
on the left
Yeah.
or the right
Yeah.
on foot.
5 miles an hour.
Any explanation? Was there like car problems? If you're going 5, you put your hazards on or
Yeah.
you hang a bloody stump out the window.
Yeah.
Something better be going on.
She said words I can't say right now.
Yeah. I think we're all saying those words on her behalf
Yeah,
right now.
exactly.
Yeah,
So I had
she
to tell you
it
that
right.
timing wise. So.
Okay.
All
Well,
right. Thanks, Marks.
Hey, pleasure is mine.
All right. 1 hour in. We got 2 more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. Second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning. Appreciate you making us a part of your starts on this June 12th. Coming up, we'll get back to some more baseball talk here as well. Brewers hoping to win the series later this afternoon. Day game against the Toronto Blue Jays, 110. So coverage will begin about 35 minutes prior on the radio dials, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. So you got that. We'll get back to that here in just a little bit. We've got another Business of Sports brought to you by Security Financial Bank coming up in about an hour. Shout out. I want to give a shout out. Yesterday we had the Mobile Man Cave out and about. Mobile Man Cave brought to you by Woods and Water Realty, Toyson Ford, Carpet City Flooring Center, the Elbow Room. We're at Eau Claire Nationals Little League playoffs began yesterday. Opening week of the Miracle League over there too. We were hanging out with Brian and the card collecting club over there. A ton of kids getting free cards, a bunch of free cards from Brian and the card collecting club. So it was a lot of fun last night. Playoff baseball going on. Miracle League action going on. Timmy W was just rocking it. His pipes sounded good on the announcing over their job. Well done. A lot of baseball action last night, and a lot of kids getting some cool cards yesterday. So it was a really fun night having the Mobile Man Cave out there and such. I know that probably wasn't the biggest draw for the kids. It was the free cards over there too, but it was a lot of fun. So have to give a shout out over there too. So all right. You ready to have a little Jets talk here, Lucas?
No, let's go ahead and do it anyway. As you're saying that, I happen to be scrolling past more Jets content on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Overblown, just about right. Nothing to see here. What do you think?
Everything is overblown.
Mm-hmm.
As a rule, if it's Aaron Rodgers, it's over. So, wrong answers only. What is the event that's important to him?
I know. I was trying to think of that yesterday. That's a great topic. I want people to text in. But please make it appropriate so I at least could give you some credit on the air, right? I mean, we could go on a, no pun intended, but, darkness retreat here. We can really go dark in this, but try to make it, have some fun with it, and try to make it so I can say it on the air. I like that. People text us. What is so important for Aaron Rodgers? And this is from Robert Saleh. It said that he's doing something that's very important to him. So what's really important? To where he's missing mandatory minicamp. And, this is reminding me of like school and such. Inexcused and excused absences. Needs that doctor's note, right?
Mm-hmm.
Needs that doctor's note. So, yeah, where's he at? Where's he at? Here's the thing for me. Both sides, because, now you're on the cover of the New York Post with, Aaron Rodgers and all that and kind of calling him out. Because, again, what did he say at the end of last year? We got to keep all the BS out of this building that has nothing to do, with that has nothing to do with football. And his words are coming back to bite him, right? All offseason, they have come back to bite him. Whether it's been a VP run or this now, those words from Aaron himself have come back to bite him. I think that's fair to say, right? But this has been a blown PR thing from both sides. One, if the Jets knew about this, that he was going to be gone, which it sounds like they did, can't you just say it's an excused absence? Because I guarantee you, if this was an excused absence, it's not being blown out like this. It's that one word that Robert Saleh said yesterday, inexcused absence. But then he tried to but we knew about it and all that. Because it's labeled inexcused, it's a big thing. So to me, the Jets blew that themselves. It's just a big old PR mess at this point. And I do think it's getting a little bit overblown. But Aaron also has to realize it's the New York media, which we've been saying, and he has to realize where he's at, what he is, the last few months surrounding him, last year or so. Anything he does or doesn't do or says or doesn't say is going to be perceived and overanalyzed and overlooked at. So he also has to realize the last thing he can do is go on his buddy Pat McAfee show and call out people, because he has to realize that's the name of the game for him at this point in time.
I'm looking at New York Post covers at this moment. the whole full of hot air is, in case anyone was wondering, that's what it says. By the way, just folks, daily check the New York Post's headlines, the covers. They're gold. They're always, you may not agree with them, but just admire the tabloidness of it. It's great.
Yep.
But when the whole New York media thing first started, I think I said this before, that so with the Green Bay media is like just one guy sitting there like, so how do you think football is going to go this year? And that the New York media are all piranhas.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like we've seen plenty of Packer media folks are plenty intense, and New York is like the most intense in the country. Yes, but it's not that much more, relatively speaking. So on the one hand, you should be like, you know what? All of this is whatever. On the other hand, they are the New York media. They will, especially your Posts of the world, that will run with anything. To that, there's a reason that's called a tabloid newspaper. You don't see those across most of the country. You see those a lot in Europe. Go to the UK; they're everywhere. You don't really see them in the States outside of New York. It's a totally different thing. I mean, can you ponder a tabloid newspaper in Eau Claire? Taking stories, but then twisting it the way that the Post does to make it the most lavish headline possible. Like, no, we can't. I mean, even like in Milwaukee or Minneapolis, you can't imagine that. So it does feel like probably a lot of people that can't quite read the room.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily, again, reporters and but how the broader institutions are going to cover these issues. And not everyone involved with the Jets, and definitely not Aaron Rodgers, is like a native New Yorker or New York metropolitan person who comes up and goes, oh, wow, we got to be careful with this. And I've always said you focus on what's best for your team. And if that means the fans don't like it, whatever, as long as you get to the point you want to get to, everyone will eventually come around. But I don't know that they're on that track right now.
Yeah.
So it's like a double screw up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got a couple. I'm waiting for us to get some more so we can do all the wrong answers only at once. I want to do it all.
Yeah, I got to think of a good one here.
Yeah.
I don't want to blow it too early.
So,
you got a good one?
I think I got one right now. I think I do. But I'm going to hold it. How about this? About half hour from now, about 7:45, we'll go through everything.
Yeah.
Give everybody a little time to put on their thinking caps and get a little creative. But again, keep it as clean as possible so we can say it on the air. I don't want to get fired or fined. So
yes.
Or I don't want, Aaron Rodgers going out there and, talking about me on stuff, and that, he's done that too. So I don't need him finding out about anything. So gosh forbid. So
could be
but
bad.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's just to me, it's like, couldn't they just say it's an excused absence? Like the whole thing, if they knew about it, couldn't they just say it's excused absence, and this would not be a thing?
It's way easier than anything else.
I mean, like, for example, Matt LaFleur yesterday. Jair wasn't there, Xavier McKinney wasn't there, and Keyshawn Nixon wasn't there. But you know what? Hey, he said it's excused absences because they, put in all this extra time in the offseason, OTAs and all that, so they're excused. Not a deal. Nobody's talking about it, right? Especially Jair. Nobody's talking about it, that he's not there. Why? Because your head coach went out and said, hey, these guys put in a ton of work already. They're excused absences. Boom.
There would still be criticism on, even if they just said excused absence and left it at that. Now, there would be sources that would come out and say, well, here's really what he's doing. But even at that point, there would be a fair amount of criticism of the whole distractions, and now he's gone. I think there's this thought that he needs to be at everything now, and that's probably not a fair assessment of him. I mean, just because he's gone from something doesn't mean that he is now a distraction. You can be gone and it's okay, but it would be definitely less of a thing than it is right now, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think the other part of it too is the hidden, where is he at sort of thing, right? That's what people want to know.
So now,
and do you think it's related? Like, people are wondering now, because, and I'm not going to go down this in full detail, but is it because people are wondering, oh, is it politically related? You know what I mean? Like, is that drawing more of the conspiracy theory part of it? Like, ooh, okay, is he doing something on this, that side of the aisle or something like that?
That's the thing. There's been so much there's so many possibilities with him that everything is a factor.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everything is a factor. He's negotiating the ceasefire agreement over in the Middle East right now. Like, I mean, what would that shock you if he was somehow involved with that? Like,
Who does he think he is? Dennis Rodman with North Korea?
yeah. I mean, and then if you found out that he actually did go over there to talk to somebody and like, oh, wow, he really did. Like, anything is possible at this point.
KKG.
Anything's possible. So if the NFL changes from OTAs, mandatory minicamps, to the ramp up as has been talked about, how different is this scenario if you placed that this year? So presuming that maybe in about like maybe 2 weeks from now would be, I'm guessing, when this beginning of training camp would be, and I'm still not quite sure how that works because do we get all like, whoa, training camp has started, but it really hasn't started. But how different is that with Aaron Rodgers, and how do we treat that? Or is it more, oh, they're not there, but they're coming later. Other players are coming later.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's probably that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I do, because everything is so spaced out right now, and the term that it's mandatory mini camp and it's an inexcused absence feels like this is a truancy violation in school right now.
Well, you have more opportunities for these lame controversies to show up if a player doesn't come by something. The whole OTAs thing about the public's going to freak out, but the teams really don't care that much, provided there's not a major rift with a player. They don't. But it gets everyone all worked up. And so here we are. We're getting all worked up. But the Jets fans and sports media is getting all worked up over this. Probably wouldn't be as big of a deal. It would be somewhat, but not as much if we were starting camp and leading up. Now, I guess if he'd bolted camp in like early August for some other event, maybe then it comes back. But you don't have these little points throughout the offseason.
Again, let's try to keep some of these clean, people. I know it's hard, but there's a couple I can't say on the air. So
can you revise your texts, folks?
Yes. And I'm not going to go political on this either. So, but Robert Saleh, his quotes were, selfishly, I want our guys here all the time. But when you get to these mandatory things, you make the best decision for yourself. Obviously, selfishly, want all of them here all the time, but he made a decision, and that's where he went. I mean, even that just doesn't sound like a great quote from your head coach, right? I mean, it's like, oh boy, here we go.
That whole franchise needs a reboot,
right? I feel like this is gonna come crashing down this year. I think it's gonna be bad.
Heck, from the top. I mean, okay, Woody Johnson's not in Dan Snyder, Bill Bidwell, Robert Tepper territory. No, I mean, he's probably considered one of the lesser ones in terms of general quality, but he's not like, oh my gosh, we got to find a way to kick him out territory. But I think the Jets would be better served by having a different owner. As simple as that, and make them a more competent organization. I mean, they've always been kind of the lesser. They've always been the stepchild in New York, and I understand why, because the Giants are an iconic franchise, and they've been super, super stable. They just need a complete do-over.
When did the Johnsons get the Jets? I mean, how long? They're obviously not the Maras or anything like that with the Giants, but
I seem to remember when it happened. When did it happen?
So it hasn't been like 40 years.
Yeah, because Leon Hess had them for a long time. That's what I remember. Oh, there's the Sonny Wertland Syndicate that had. It sounds like a oil corporation. Woody, Hess died in '99, and then Woody Johnson got it soon after that. So the Johnsons have had it for this century, basically.
All right. Yeah, okay. So it almost seems like they've been around for a long time, but really, when you put it in perspective, 24 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
So
Woody Johnson's 77, but remember his son had it when Woody Johnson was ambassador under
Ireland, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, or UK.
Or was it the UK? Okay.
Yeah, because it was
Oh, Rooney.
Steelers.
Rooney
Yeah.
was Ireland, right?
Yeah, he was the Irish ambassador for a while.
Yes.
So it's probably going to stay in the family at this point, unless you start getting like investment funds that can start covering some of the costs of ownership and such. But for now, Johnsons are probably going to keep it. But they probably should redo it. But the Johnsons won't let it go, and the Jets will keep being the Jets.
All right.
I mean, it's comedy for the rest of us. I guess you could look at it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Keep your clean and fun. Wrong answers only. What is Aaron doing that is more important than mandatory minicamp right now? Why has it got to be so hush-hush, right? Hopefully, maybe Robert Sarr will come out and say, hey, dude is like maybe going to a wedding or something like that. All right,
like
cool.
That would be a really simple. Like I would understand. Yeah. I think most people would understand that. Like, oh, okay.
I'm like, okay, but why is that got to be so secretive?
Well, and I get it. He wants to keep as many things private, but
hey,
read the room.
We all do. But you know what? Sometimes you're not in that position to have that luxury, given your job, your status.
He's a very, very well-known baseball player. So he kind of unintentionally went into Mike McCarthy territory with that one.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick break here. Speaking of baseball, we'll get back to a little bit more baseball talk coming up here too. Also, as part of one of our summer projects, we are going to try to figure out, voted on by you, the listeners, who is the most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete of all time. We've got the Packers region set. We've got the Badger region set. We're going to do Brewers a little bit later on this week. So the final region that we're kind of working on is the open one, which includes Bucks players, other university players, Olympians and such. But I need some more nominations from you. The top 16 that get the most votes are going to be in this region. So if you got any Bucks players that you think are underrated, let me know. We've gotten a few of them so far, but keep those texts coming. Obviously, Giannis and Kareem do not qualify for this. I think that's fair to say. Or the Big O,
right.
Oscar Robertson. They do not qualify for this.
Right.
Don't think anybody thinks they're underrated at this point. So, well, I mean, for the most part, I mean, you can get really fine.
What's your definition of underrated? I mean, I suppose you could say Kareem is underrated. I mean, there's a case to be made actually now.
I do. That's where I was trying to get is like, it is. I think Kareem tends to get forgotten quite a bit, like how great he actually was.
Oh, yeah.
Like that sort of thing.
It seems like Simmons is keeping the light on for Kareem, and he wasn't even a big Kareem fan.
Yeah.
But,
or Dan Patrick, too, I know is big on that. Or our own intern Bob is, too. So,
but it seems to be a generational thing. He's getting forgotten. I think he is becoming I can't believe I'm saying this because he was one of the biggest icons in the NBA when I started following the NBA. I think he is becoming underrated.
But for this exercise,
let's go with like even casual sports fan might be like, who? Wait, oh, I think I remember him. That's what we mean by underrated.
Maybe a couple all-star games on there. You know, not a Hall of Famer, that sort of stuff.
Right.
So, all right, we'll take a quick break and we'll get back to some more baseball talk coming up after these quick words. Need an oil change, or maybe you need to get some new tires for your vehicle, or maybe you want to save some moolah on some high quality used auto parts. Look no further than ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire, located on the west side of Eau Claire, just across the street from the Dodge over there. Make your appointment now to get your oil change over there. Save some money on some awesome tires. I've still got my tires there from ASAP Used Auto Parts. It's where I went a couple years ago. Still running smooth over there too. Plus, if maybe you're working on doing some maybe you're rebuilding a vehicle, or maybe you do some some work on some vehicles and such, and you want to save some money on some high quality used auto parts, ASAP Used Auto Parts is your go-to location. Check them out today. All right. Surveyor Sam has a good one that again, we're going to save our picks coming up, or our not picks, but what is Aaron Rodgers secretly doing that he's missing mandatory minicamp, right? All in fun, right? Wrong answers only, right, Luke?
Yes.
Wrong answers only, but clean, all in fun sort of stuff. Something I can say on the air without getting in trouble, right? Something I can say in the air without getting in trouble. So, but I got to say, with Surveyor Sam here too, it's a big day. It's Surveyor Sam's birthday. Yeah. Happy birthday, big Surveyor Sam. That's from Christina Aguilera over there. I couldn't find the Marilyn Monroe one right away. So.
The
Couldn't do that, so. The
Happy
JFK.
birthday, Mr.
Don't do the
President.
impression, because
No,
that just
I
ruins
no,
it for
it
everybody.
doesn't-
So just stop. Just
I'm not-
stop. Don't do it.
No,
Don't
I
do it. Don't do it. So
You want me to find Marilyn?
nope, we're good.
Okay.
We're good. But happy birthday, Surveyor Sam. So there you go. Had to put that out there. Wasn't sure if he was listening, but then he threw in a text about this, so had to put that out there.
President Sam.
President Sam.
Mm.
President, is that what you? Oh yeah.
Well, if you do the Mr. President, he's
Mhm.
President Sam.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So, all right, so let's talk some more baseball here. Brewers falling yesterday to the fighting Dalton Varshows of the Toronto Blue Jays. They'll try to win the series though later on today. First pitch at 1:10. Some good articles up on The Athletic. If you don't have a subscription for The Athletic, we can tell you a little bit about it. But they're starting to maybe get a little bit more, shall we say, national love, national pop, if that's the right way to say it. Ken Rosenthal, in his edition of The Wind-Up, and it's actually the free daily newsletter from The Athletic. But he leads off talking about the Brewers. Says, surprise, the Brewers are good. So here's the timeline he put out there. Let's put this all in perspective. August 1st, 2022, leading the NL Central by 3 games. Milwaukee trades Josh Hader. Hader makes the postseason with the Padres. Brewers go 22-31 after the trade, missing the playoffs. Fall of 2023, after a bounce-back division win, Brewers lose David Stearns to the Mets. Then Craig Counsell defects to the hated Chicago Cubs. February 4th, 2024, Brewers trade their best starting pitcher, Cy Young winner Corbin Burns, to Baltimore. It stands to reason that closer Devin Williams will go next. February 28th, Williams hits the injured list with a stress fracture in his back. Sounds like a recipe for a 7-game division lead on June 11th, right? Ken Rosenthal asks. The thing is, both of those trades worked out reasonably well for the Brewers. Of the 4 players from the Hader deal, only one, Robert Gasser, who is 2-0 with a 2.57 ERA, is still with the team. But Esteury Ruiz was part of the 3-way trade that landed catcher William Contreras from the Braves. Contreras has been perhaps their best player ever since. Meanwhile, Burns is having a phenomenal season for the Brewers, but Joey Ortiz, who they got in return, has been Milwaukee's 4th best player by WAR and is hitting a 284, 374, 467 slash 846 OPS. Then he says the Brewers may be toiling in relative anonymity in baseball's smallest market, but they're playing fun baseball and might be the league's best underdog story. Then there is another article up on The Athletic by Cody Stavenhagen. Says that relentless Milwaukee Brewers aren't slowing down in another race to October. When Rhys Hoskins was a free agent this winter, he gave his agent one directive: I want a chance to win. A longtime member of the Phillies, Hoskins has been in those environments. He understands what October feels like, knows what the champagne tastes like. The desire to continue winning in part led Hoskins to where else but Milwaukee, question mark. And he kind of goes on and talks about the model of consistency in Milwaukee and that sort of stuff there too. But again, a little bit more love and high praise coming from some national peeps out there. Are they starting? Do you think Milwaukee is starting to get that attention across Major League Baseball, across the sports world right now?
Yeah, I think it helps that they have such a big lead in their division, and gosh, every other team is within a half game of each other, or they're tied.
Yeah,
the same spot. Yeah, that's part of it, that they're consistently good. Their run differential is holding up. Their offense has been holding up pretty well. They've patched their way through their pitching situation. I mean, losing Gasser is definitely going to suck. I mean, longer term this season compared to what we were hoping was going to be the case. But otherwise, there are a lot of things to like about this team. I think the character of the team, the vibe, if you will, of the team is getting some attention. The whole fun aspect of the Brewers under Murphy. Hoskins having a pretty good season coming over, which didn't quite make sense with all of the guys they were getting rid of. Like, what's going on? Well, it's turned out pretty well, actually. The young players, they're like, again, it's a good story from a writer perspective, and it's backed up by solid play thus far. The concern would be, and you hear this occasionally, just in the sense of assessing how the whole season's going to go. Will their pitching manage to hold up long term? Like, I don't think this is a 2014 scenario where suddenly they're going to lose like 13 in a row or something really terrible happens and they fly their way out of the playoffs. Even with there's talent behind them in that division that I mean, I've figured the Cubs would probably be doing pretty well. I'm a little surprised that they're not. But I don't think they have, like, you could kind of tell that 14 team was like way out ahead. Like, well, okay, what's going on here? And this one is surprising, but you can see where the depth is located. So I think it's legitimate to start talking about them as one of the better teams. And then given how playoffs tend to go and shorter series and the oddities of baseball playoff time, could they go on a run to the LCS? Could they go on a run to the World Series? It's very possible, especially depending on what they do at the deadline.
The other article I was kind of referencing here, I'm not going to read the whole thing because anybody can go up there and reading it such, but it says players credit the coaching staff for the intense preparation, daily meetings centered not only on planning for the opposing pitcher, but also on scouring for weaknesses in the opponent, pre-planning for ways to take those extra bases that can make all the difference. To understand what makes these Brewers tick, all you have to do is look at the manager. Murphy has the words, "No retreat, no surrender," tattooed on his left forearm. On his right wrist, he wears a black bracelet that reads "Relentless." Murph talks about that word a lot, Hoskins said, being relentless up until the last pitch. We've been in most every game this season. I think there's something to that. You know, and I think you've read this book too, but when I read that line where he's got those phrases tattooed on his forearm, I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but it reminded me of When Pride Still Mattered. Was that where you thought I was going? Where Lombardi's,
I wasn't, but it makes all the sense.
Lombardi's dad had
Yeah.
work and play tattooed on his hands.
Yes,
on his
that's
fingers
right.
there. So that was my first image. I'm like, ooh, that's a little old school kind of sort of feel there. Not comparing Murphy to Lombardi in case everybody's like already like, okay, that's a little too. I'm not doing that. I'm just going with that's what I flash back to. Was that image there.
Pat Murphy gets the Brewers their first World Series title.
Oh, gosh. Build a statue for crying out loud. Retire whatever number he's wearing under the jacket or whatever it is right now.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
I mean, that would be a big bleeping deal.
Yeah. I mean, for how many years did we think maybe Craig Counsell was going to do that? and he'd go down. And what if it's Pat Murphy?
It's a possibility. I mean, I know this is all still relatively early in their runs with their teams right now, but I mean, you can't rule it out. It's not like the Brewers are like Murphy's a patch over to the Weeks era in a few years, which is probably going to. I mean, okay, as long as Murphy's doing this well, we'll keep doing this, and if it's Weeks' time after that, it'll be that time. And right now, it's all upside at this point. Yeah. Sure, I mean, I know that we got a very top heavy, not just leagues, American and National League. There are 11 that you may have done the stat earlier, but I checked this morning. 11 of 30 teams are above 500. 19 are below 500 right now. I mean, I know there are a lot of teams that are right near 500, like say the NL Central. But there's not a lot of great baseball in terms of, and I want to emphasize that, a lot of great baseball. There's a lot of competitive baseball, so I'm not saying that the sport is in a bad spot, though this does seem to be a little, I think this is more of a one-year fluke. We don't see this happening all the time, but there's not a lot of greatness out there. But at the top, oh my gosh, it's sublime. Yankees right now. I mean, the Guardians now that there's still an expectation of fading. The Phillies right now. Could the Brewers top those teams? I mean, right now, well, we just saw what happened with the Brewers and the Phillies. It didn't turn out, but October.
They weren't blown out.
No, they weren't. They were competitive, and it's early enough. You can still, I mean, we how many times we talk about this over and over again, and we're going to keep talking about this right through the playoffs. Teams get hot and cold at all points during the season. You don't know. I mean, maybe the Brewers are going to get cold at a certain point, or one of those other teams get cold for them at the wrong time, and the Brewers end up winning a World Series. Anything is possible. There, I said it again.
You might as well get that tattooed on your forearm right now.
Soda!
But, and one name we're not really maybe giving a lot of attention to or credit to, I mean, Matt Arnold, the job that he has done, right? I mean, since he's been, and it's only been a couple years. Last year, David Stearns was still there, but he was an advisor. Matt Arnold, first-year general manager. Then this year, I mean, he's the guy who traded Corbin Burns, and he's the one who hired Pat Murphy and such. But this mixture, and one of the articles talks about it, where you got Murphy, who's been in baseball like his whole life, maybe a little old school, and then you've got, the front office, who's a little bit more of an analytical side. How those two are working so well right now, I think is super impressive, because I think sometimes you see it where maybe you got an old school guy with old school mindset that isn't all about the analytical and the news side. I think they're embracing each other right now, and it's working. It's working.
They don't always work together.
No.
We've seen plenty of examples of a clash between the two, and usually it's always the old school person who's and I mean this in a neutral way. They're managing more based on emotion versus just straight up facts. So they're also probably going to be the one that's more likely to come out and say, "Gosh, this stuff sucks." Analytics types are going to be like, well, and again, I'm stereotyping a bit, but that tends to be the case. So you would expect if there was a problem, Murphy would probably be the one to be ripping on, the coneheads up and all of that. No, there's probably the right balance. That's the best way to perform in baseball is to balance the analytics and, to a certain extent, the feel of the game. Oh, you're hearing a lot about it right now across the border. And again, it's 1 out of 162 games. But Louis Varland was having a pretty good night last night. Hadn't had a good season thus far. He did great against the Rockies, pulled after 62 pitches, and then the Twins immediately blow the game because analytics. Now, maybe there was some other reason for that. Maybe it's because they wanted Varland to have an actual good start for a change, so they pulled him a little early. And
confidence builder.
Yep. I mean, that. And now, if that's the case, that's the opposite of analytics. I know Rocco Baldelli is way more of an analytics. He's in the analytics department of managers. Patrick Murphy's not an analytics manager. I mean, not that one is all in and the other completely eschews it, but Murphy's not. But that's that example I just gave from last night is where that tension can happen. Of, was there someone in the front office saying, no, you can only go into the fifth inning and it doesn't matter how he's doing, and then it ends up costing the team. Maybe, or there might have been some other reasons, like you just said. I think they've got a good language going on at American Family Field in the offices there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why this is working with the Brewers. And you don't oftentimes see this across the league, but there are a few examples. Phillies probably have a pretty good example of that with Rob Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening here.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, it's fun. I know we keep saying this. It's fun watching this Brewers team right now. It really is, I mean, even last night, a game like that where you got a guy who's Carlos Rodriguez has his major league debut. He goes 3 2/3. It was a 3-0 loss. Like, it felt like it was going to be just a blowout, but I feel confident in this team now. It's like if they get in a hole early on, they can get out of it. They grind it out. It's that relentless attitude.
Reese Hoskins was on the Baseball Tonight podcast last week. I think it was last week. It was either last week or the week before. And this was right after it was last week because he was talking about the return to Philadelphia. And he was asked about this team. And I seem to recall in the interview, he was talking about how they don't feel out of games late, that they're constantly manufacturing their way into positions to still win. And they believe going right up to the end of the game that they can win these games. So what you're just saying there, Hoskins essentially said the same thing with regard to the team's approach.
Yeah.
They're not going to get drained. They're not going to be like, well, lost this one in the fifth.
Because even that, going back to last year's postseason, when they would have a lead, but then they lost it, didn't it feel like, even if it was 2 runs, like, yep, this game's over with?
Yeah.
You didn't have confidence in them.
No, yeah. Their offense was so, here's another classic sports cliche, anemic.
Yeah.
But they couldn't score. It's just like, oh gosh, 1 run. What are we gonna do? No, like if it's it feels like if it's an 8-0 deficit, provided it's not like the 9th inning, they got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, you're like, they might get this to like 9-5 or 9-6 before this is over. Great sign for clutch potential. You look for that with certain teams. Why were we so high on the Nuggets this past season, and why I think we should still be high on them going forward? They're typically pretty good in the clutch.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, Game 7 in the conference semis was so weird because that was the opposite of clutch for the Nuggets. Usually you see that. Well, you saw that a year ago. You saw that through a good amount of these playoffs up until that series with the Wolves. Those teams tend to perform really well late. And I wonder if we're starting to see that with the Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a potential good sign going down the road.
All right, here we go. We're going to take a quick break. Final call for wrong answers only, but all in fun. Something that I can say on the air without getting in trouble. All right, text me, what is Aaron Rodgers doing?
Because if we have to fire Dan because of something he said, you think I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers for the next year? No.
Well, I don't want to talk about Aaron Rodgers.
No,
for the
none
next
of us.
year, so,
honestly, none of us
I don't.
do.
I don't want to get fired because somebody texted something in too. So you know what I mean? Like, but all right,
collateral damage.
Yeah, text him in. I will say, evil surveyor Sam, though, half of his is what I was going to say. So he was kind of on the same page with me.
Okay.
So, all right, last call. Text him on over 715-830-1912. Quick break, and then we'll be back to finish up the second hour. Oh, and plus, I will say the business of sports, a debatable topic coming up where we're going to need some listener engagement too.
Ooh.
Got a Tim Thomas pick for the Bucks, underrated player. I was wondering if anybody was going to pick Mr. Headband Tim Thomas over there for underrated Bucks pick.
One.
Yeah. I was trying to. Do you have one off the top of your head, or you want to think about it for?
Yeah,
for
I got to think about. I just came up with my Aaron Rodgers one. So now that I'm set on that, hopefully someone else can already grab it. But
all right. So I'll go through a couple of them that I can say.
Okay.
Because I will say this, I've gotten some tweets and some Facebook ones. I can't say those without getting in trouble. So I have to narrow it down here. So let's go with Stetsville Brad earlier had said underwater basket weaving seminar.
Nice.
Surveyor Sam. By the way, he did say, I appreciate the singing from Luke. So there you go. You got one fan there.
You're welcome.
Aaron is currently lost somewhere in Yellowstone National Park after a psychedelic mushroom trip while chasing Bigfoot. Not bad. I like it. Evil Surveyor, opposite of Surveyor, Evil Surveyor Sam said, Aaron is on a lightness, opposite of darkness, retreat up in the Arctic, waiting for the dolphins to breed. So, I might as well say mine because half of it was related to that. Mine was actually, it was related to the whales mating dolphins. Remember that ridiculous thing he said last year?
Yes.
About the recovery effects of, was it dolphins or whales mating? Mm-hmm. He's doing some sort of scientific research trip on that, or a seminar involving that. The healing effects of that. So that was my pick.
Okay.
But what was yours?
All right. Well, now, granted, if he's missing this right now, I suppose he could miss any training camp, but he's in Elmwood.
Okay, UFO capital of Wisconsin.
Well, UFO days are the last weekend of July when the Jets will be having training camp. Now, he can't miss that. I mean, if he's really serious about the whole distraction thing and he's going to miss that, he can't do that. If you're going to sacrifice some camp time, do the mandatory mini camp. So,
I think you might be on something with the UFO one. That's a good one,
so
too.
You know what? He's probably in Elmwood. They probably had to figure out some time for him to like do some video for like they're going to show like a 3-minute trailer or something when UFO days roll around. And so if he's going to walk around Elmwood and do some stuff, keep it right now and head back over. He's there right now. Somebody go drive around Elmwood, see if you see Aaron Rodgers.
That's not a bad one. I completely forgot about the UFO aspect, the alien aspect. Does anybody who's followed along know that Aaron's a believer? I will piggyback off that a little bit, but to add it, he might be a part of the Men in Black, right? Neuralizer. Maybe he forgot about Medicam because he got neuralized by Will Smith, right?
So what's the important event he's at?
Maybe it's galactic kegger.
Well, that's true. I mean, if you're trying to save the world, that would be pretty important. I think that should probably be important to several billion people on this planet. So maybe Aaron Rodgers is ahead of all of us.
Mm-hmm. Our good buddy Supper Club All Stars on Twitter said Iocasa. How do you say that?
I don't know. I need to look that up at some point.
Thank you. I'm not the only one then. Ayahuasca. You know what I'm talking about.
The psychedelic drug.
Making workshop. There you go. So.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I like the alien one. We should maybe Google if there's been any latest sightings to see maybe potentially that's where he's at.
Maybe.
There's a lot of, I know he watches some of those shows on the History Channel, but there's a lot of those type of shows that are on the History Channel right now, like Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, I watch that. And some other ones. So maybe he's going to be a guest on that.
Now, this is not an event, but maybe he's in Salt Lake City doing some ownership negotiations with the now moved Arizona Coyotes. In case,
a hockey fan?
Well, he may not be. Then again, I didn't expect him to be a basketball fan either. However, and this has thus far been a fan favorite, if this ends up being the choice of the fans in Utah, the Utah Yeti.
What? Did you Google that?
Nope. Well, I mean, I did like days ago.
Wait. You Googled Utah Yeti days ago?
Well, maybe. Well, I googled probably you. No, I would have seen this on like UniWatch or something like that. The 6 finalists for the Utah NHL name. I don't want to say NHL team because
Right.
again, it's the Coyotes, and I know they're holding
If
the
if they go Yeti, they're going with a Yeti.
the final 6. I need to find like the right link here. What are the final 6? Come on. Where is this? Because they're doing like a voting thing.
Yeah.
For everyone, because this is coming pretty quickly, obviously. Side note, they're holding the Coyotes history for when they can get an expansion team. I get it with the Browns. Coyotes, they do have pretty cool uniforms, but okay, cool guys. So your final 6, the Utah Blizzard,
Okay.
Utah Hockey Club,
Okay.
playoff, of course, Washington football team, the Utah Mammoth, no plural, Utah Outlaws, Utah Venom, and the Utah Yeti.
God dang it, they're gonna make me switch from the Kraken, aren't they?
Uh-huh.
Son of a gun.
So we'll find out later this summer, and I do believe Yeti was near the top of like the general fan support.
Of course it would be. Son of a gun, I'm gonna have to switch allegiances.
You might.
By the way, really quick, I've got like 10 seconds here. There was a UFO investigation launched in Japan after a U.S. report designates region as hotspot for sightings recently. So maybe he's over there.
He's in Osaka.
Or Stetsville Brad said Jordan Love is having an autograph signing event. Aaron won an autograph. Final hour coming up right now. Appreciate you tuning in, however, wherever you may be tuning in from. I want to say Stetsonville Brad's pick again because I was running out of time. Jordan Love is having an autograph signing event, and Aaron wanted an autograph.
Right.
That's what I was trying to.
Right.
But I said it too quick, and it probably sounded really weird. So, but that's a good one. That's
it
a
was
solid
quick,
one.
but I got it. I was laughing afterwards.
That was a solid one.
It works.
I like it. So, hey, if you got any stragglers out there who didn't get them in a little bit before, what we were doing was have a little fun with what is Aaron Rodgers doing that is more important than football right now. Make it clean and fun. If you have any more that you would like to send on over. So, also yesterday too. Actually, what's this? Okay. Apparently, the Kelsey brothers now have a garage beer. Interesting. Okay. Or they're investors into it. Something like that. Hey, that's a nice segue into our business of sports coming up here, right?
Yeah. Did you see Nate Burleson?
What?
A new host of Hollywood Squares.
Oh, Nate.
He's kind of taken the Ryan Seacrest route, Michael Strahan route, which it's not necessarily the worst thing. He's good. But he's starting to get into that. Like,
interesting.
Again,
he started off on Good Morning Football, then was on CBS Football, then he's on CBS News, and now he's on Hollywood Squares.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. So,
again, not bad. That's
no.
You're going to see more Nate Burleson.
Mm-hmm. In case you missed it, and anybody wants to know, Christian McCaffrey is on the cover of the new Madden game.
Don't take him in your fantasy team.
Yep, you're toast. You are toast. The 49ers are going to stink this year. I'm sorry.
Okay, so how much is that still a jinx? I know Josh Allen didn't perform all that well to start last season.
Well, let's look at it. Let's look at the lists recently, shall we?
Let's break it down scientifically.
Before we get to our very debatable business of sports. And I don't know if you know where I'm going to go with this.
I kind of do, but even if I'm wrong, it sounds great.
So let's go through the covers. Here we go. NFL.com, the covers of Madden. So Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady were in 2021. Was that after their Super Bowl appearance?
Yes, and one of the rare years that neither won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson was in 2021. I think he had didn't he get hurt? I think he got hurt after that.
I forget. It seems like he got hurt like every other year.
Yeah.
So
then Patrick Mahomes was on the cover by himself in 2020. Antonio Brown in 19. Enough said. Tom Brady in 18. Gronk in 17. Odell Beckham Jr. in 16, Richard Sherman 15, Barry Sanders 25 for the 25th anniversary, Calvin Johnson in 13. The infamous Peyton Hill is here.
Gosh, I was waiting for that one.
That was in 12. Drew Brees 11. Then you had the Troy Polamalu and Larry Fitzgerald 1 in 10. And then this one was absolutely a jinx. The 09 Favre one. God. I still remember the David Letterman interview when they were on there.
Yeah.
And then the whole something's bound to happen. I'm like, oh, crap. So, yeah.
Okay, well, not all of those are jinxes. Like Brady was on in 18 and then they won the Super Bowl.
It was more of the early, like after they stopped putting Madden on there, then you had Eddie George in 01.
Yeah.
Then you had Dante Culpepper in 02. Marshall Falk in 03. Michael Vick in 04. Ray Lewis in 05. Donovan McNabb in 06. Sean Alexander in 07. Vince Young, and then it was Favre.
Some of those didn't turn out well. Some were okay. I mean,
is it the most famous one, Michael Vick? Because he broke his leg, I think, after. Wasn't that in a preseason game?
Let's see, the 04. Well, because the Falcons got to the NFC Championship game that year. Yeah, because that was the year that the Eagles finally broke through.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but remember, the game's always a year ahead.
Right, but so that was the 04 Madden.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was the season.
It says here, in the game, Vic was unstoppable on the field, despite being exploded, blah, blah, blah. Despite exploding onto the scene as the number one pick, a fractured fibula less than a week after the game's released sidelined him for all but 5 games.
Oh, so maybe it was later on.
So, yeah.
I don't quite remember. So it's still a jinx.
As they said, the verdict cursed.
Okay. I'll count that as a curse. That's a pretty bad injury to have right after you're on.
CBS Sports, this was actually just yesterday. The Eddie George one, verdict, cursed. Dante Culpepper, cursed. Marshall Falk, cursed. Michael Vick, cursed. Ray Lewis, not cursed. Donovan McNabb, cursed. Sean Alexander, cursed. Vince Young, cursed. Favre, cursed. And then you got half cursed with the Palomalu and Larry Fitzgerald one. Drew Brees, cursed. Peyton Hillis, cursed. Calvin Johnson, not cursed. Oh, and 14-2 is also Adrian Peterson, too. So Barry Sanders, but that was like the 25th anniversary one. Then Adrian was on there, too. But half
Wasn't
cursed.
that right when like the Adrian Peterson controversy broke out about like child abuse or something?
Yeah, and then it was while he topped 1,000 yards for the 6th straight season, he saw a big dip from his historic 2,000-yard campaign that missed all but one game the following year after being indicted on child abuse charges.
It's the charges that really stands out for me. Like, you're not going to hit 2,000 every year. Like, oh, it fell from 2,000. Well, come on. But there was other stuff.
And honestly, that was kind of when the cursed run stopped because they have it listed as half cursed. Because Richard Sherman, they say not cursed. Odell, not cursed. Rob Gronkowski, they do have as cursed. Brady, not. Antonio Brown, yes. But then Patrick Mahomes, no. Lamar, they said no. Brady and Mahomes, no. Then 2023, Madden was back on the cover, but that was because of his passing. They even said Josh Allen, not cursed. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's fine. Maybe you can pick Christian McCaffrey #1 in your fantasy.
But I will caution, the last running back, though, was Adrian Peterson on the cover, right?
Yeah.
So,
But now we're back to that whole, do you count Christian McCaffrey as a true running back?
Right.
I mean, he is, but he's kind of a Swiss Army knife.
Surveyor Sam, underrated Bucks, Sam Cassell, Sidney Moncrief, Mo Williams, Monta Ellis. Man, I had Monta Ellis, I think, on my video games because dude was a sharpshooter 3. Shout out Houston Rockets back in the day, too. So, All right, keep those coming. Let's do the business of sports, brought to you by Security Financial Bank. My question, first of all, to all of you out there, the hotly debated topic. Shout out to Amy Lawrence because they were debating this before 4 o'clock this morning when I was driving in, okay? Are plant-based hot dogs considered hot dogs?
Whoa, we're going there.
Yes. That was the argument on their program because of the whole Joey Chestnut being banned from Nathan's hot dog eating contest over an apparent partnership with a plant-based brand. So the July 4th contest sounds like Joey Chestnut will not be participating at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And he has won 16 of the last 17, including each of the last 8. And he holds the all-time record with 76 hot dogs and buns eaten, which he set in 2021. So, before we get into this, is a plant-based, whether it's hot dog or hamburger, are they still considered hot dogs and burgers?
Yes.
You think they still are?
Because the point is to try to imitate the flavor without having meat. That's the whole point of doing that. So if you don't want to eat meat, but you want to enjoy a hot dog or a hamburger and not have a demonstrably different taste, then it is in an unofficial way. Well, I mean, we're not talking about specifically describing the meat, in which case then it definitely would not be. It's a hot dog.
Okay.
So yes, it is a hot dog.
All right. So
is it a sandwich?
We're not going down that one now. So this morning, as I was listening to this argument back and forth, because she was adamant, Amy Lawrence said, no, she disagrees with you, and she would vehemently disagree with you.
How so? And I'm open to
because it's a hot dog is meat. It is meat. So I went to dictionary.com to find the definition. So first of all, you type in hot dog and it's like, well, that's Frankfurter. So then you got to look at Frankfurter. Here is the official definition of a Frankfurter, Lucas. Okay. Small cooked and smoked sausage of beef or beef and pork with or without casing. So by definition, dictionary.com would say they disagree with you.
Okay. Understandable.
And I think I might have to agree with dictionary.com.
Well, I do tend to go by the definitions, do my Cambridge, Merriam-Webster, Google searches and
So, and
stuff
then
like that.
just to put the hamburger one in perspective here, their definition is a sandwich consisting of a cooked patty of ground or chopped beef. And then they also say ground or chopped beef. So,
Side note, I don't know the last time I've had a chopped beef hamburger. Usually it's ground beef. I've not really had a chopped beef hamburger. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I need to find that. I probably haven't, didn't know it. Okay. I might be convinced off of is a plant-based hot dog a hot dog for the other reason, texture, which really counts when you're doing a hot dog eating contest. I've never done one and never will because I don't want to. But
that says something because you're a foodie.
I'm a foodie, but that's the point. I want to enjoy the food. I'm not trying to cram a bunch of hot dogs down my throat, like just to win a championship and then.
Oh, you wouldn't want that championship belt? Come on.
Hell no.
Oh, wow. Luke dropped the HE double hockey sticks.
Without the L's, notice. I did the wah.
There we go.
Yep, folks. I'm passionate about this.
Whoa.
I want to enjoy my hot dogs. But by the way, another side note, I've been highlighting assorted meat places around here that are really like Mike's Star Market and mentioned that the steaks are incredible there. The other day, I saw Usingers in the store after hearing, Bob Uecker talks about them all the freaking time. So I'm like, let's give it a go. A, very tasty. B, my wife, not a fan of hot dogs unless it's natural casing wieners. And
so is Veronica, yeah.
Yeah, she's very specific, and outside of like one brand, she's a no-go. She really liked them. So that is another solid choice.
Okay.
I'll add it to the list. Texture is a big thing. If you're trying to eat a hot dog contest and you're trying to eat that fast, and I don't know, I've never had a plant-based hot dog. If it is a hot dog, put it in quotation marks. So if the texture is different, then it is not a hot dog. It has to be essentially identical, and you'd have to be fooled eating it like, oh, what? I just ate a hot dog, but there's no meat in it. It has to be to that level. If it's not, then I agree with you. I agree with dictionary.com. I agree with Amy Lawrence on that. If that's the case, because that affects the hot dog contest. That's not a flavor thing there. That's just how fast can you eat something? And if the texture is easier to swallow, for example.
We're getting really deep on this. Yeah.
Oh, we are getting deep, literally speaking. By the way, weren't we all like concerned about stuff that could get us fired with Aaron Rodgers? And here we are.
You are pushing the envelope.
Oh,
not
you
me.
better believe I am. And I'm only talking
so.
about the meats here. Honestly, there's no way out of this. We're gonna have a few more double entendres before this segment's over. But if it's not the same, then it isn't a hot dog. But this also gets to the actual business part of this. I mean, if Joey Chestnut is...
If he's not in there, are you watching?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Is it the UConn thing where it's like, we just want anybody else besides UConn to win? You know, when we were talking about that a few years ago with the women's team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's two ways of looking at this. One, there's the whole, why do I want to watch that? Because it's one of the few things I see on TV that actually makes me like lose my appetite. But on the other hand, it is the hot dog eating contest. So if it is on, like I kind of have to watch it. But I don't remember the first one I ever watched. But look, it's going to go on past Joey Chestnut. It was going on before Joey Chestnut. So no, the Chestnut thing is Joey Chestnut is UConn women's basketball. But it existed before, and it will exist afterwards. But unless he really had a specific reason for going for a plant-based hot dog.
Oh, he's endorsing it. It's money.
Right, I know. But like if it's like a value sort of thing, like going vegetarian or vegan or something like that, or if there's some reason besides the taste, like I'm doing this for like moral reasons or something. Well, if that's the case, then he probably is dropping out of the hot dog eating contest in the first place. But why would you make an arrangement with what is technically a competitor? I mean, while plant-based hot dogs, they primarily exist for people that don't want to eat regular hot dogs, either for dietary reasons or moral reasons, and an assortment of moral reasons, all of which are valid. But It's a substitute. Well, to go with cold, hard cash, winners and losers, zero sum, that means for someone who may have wanted to buy a Nathan's hot dog before, they are now going to choose a different hot dog potentially. That is less revenue for Nathan's. Joey Chestnut's name is when it comes to hot dogs, he's probably the only name that can actually move money with regard to hot dogs.
Well, now that Jordan doesn't do ballpark, I would assume we just talked about that last week or 2 weeks ago. So
that's true. So that actually is a competitor to Nathan's. So I kind of see Nathan's point on this. Like in a pure business sense, like any, and I say that this is a pull back the curtain thing. We know when we work in an industry that involves a lot of other businesses, it's a pretty obvious one of like, don't get in a conflict situation where you're involved with one, you don't do another. It's just like business 101. That's you don't do that. And Joey Chestnut kind of did that with this. So
it would be different if it was just, let's say, the U.S. hot dog eating championships where there's not a sponsor label to it.
Correct. Then well, what does it matter at that point? Yeah. I mean, it would seem a little odd, I guess. Who's eating plant-based hot dogs? Well, whatever. If he still wants to do the main hot dog eating contest, that's fine. It's because it is the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Nathan's hot dogs, by the way, are really good too. I've been a fan of those when I've had them, so they're fine.
I've never had a plant-based hot dog.
I was almost going to say the exact sentence you just said. I've never had either.
I wonder if we should do a taste test.
Yeah.
To tell the difference.
Well, and here's what you do. Don't just do like 2. Do like 5 hot dogs, one of which is a plant-based hot dog, and see if you can figure out which of the 5. Because hot dogs have different flavors, of course. So try something like that. So yeah, I actually, while I could be convinced that it is not a hot dog based on as we were discussing this, I think this is more on Joey Chestnut of don't do the obvious thing that's going to get you in trouble with the other business that you're involved with.
Well, now he is saying on the other side of the aisle here, if you will, he is saying that they're changing the rules. This was his tweet yesterday. I was gutted to learn from the media that after 19 years, I'm banned from the Nathan's 4th of July hot dog eating contest. I love competing in that event. I love celebrating America with my fans all over the great country on the 4th. And I have been training to defend my title. To set the record straight, I do not have a contract with Major League Eating or Nathan's, and they are looking to change the rules from past years as it relates to other partners I can work with. This is apparently the basis on which I'm being banned, and it doesn't impact the July 4th event. Sadly, this is a decision Nathan's and Major League Eating are making, and it will deprive the great fans of the holidays' usual joy and entertainment. To my fans, I love you, appreciate you. Rest assured, you'll see me eat again soon. Stay hungry. So,
Major League Eating, I'm sure I have seen Major League Eating mentioned on all of those other Independence Day hot dog eating contests, so I'm not going to be like, I've never heard of them. I'm sure I have heard of them. Let's see. But Major League Eating, according to their Wikipedia page, the Shea brothers took over Nathan's publicity in the mid-90s, and then they founded the International Federation of Competitive Eating, or IFOCE, as a sanctioning body. We're in FIFA territory now, to oversee, regulate, and organize events and TV deals. And the IFOCE's professional league became known as Major League Eating. So there is a Nathan's connection to the league, if you will. It's not clear, and I'd have to do some more deep diving here if the Shea brothers are still associated with Nathan's. I'm sure someone there is saying, no, Chestnut can't do this. Clearly, because why would you ban him over this? Well, also, by the way, talk about publicity for the event on July 4th.
I was going to say, both these brands now, it's like, maybe here's the thing though, too. Okay, if he's not there And with all this publicity, that might actually get other people to tune in just because, how much they can talk about it. Are they going to talk about him? Who else is up there? So, I mean, it could work both ways.
What if Joey Chestnut, surprise showed up?
You know what? ESPN should just hire him as a commentator.
Oh, wow. Have ESPN
because what are they going to do to say to ESPN? No, you can't broadcast it. That's
now that would be
really stupid.
Of course. Have him eating along at the same time, but actually the analysis would be better for him to be like, actually the way that he's eating. Oh, see, no, you gotta really break it down. Like, we're all excited about Tom Brady and how is he going to do? What if Joey Chestnut's like the Greg Olson of hot dog competitions?
Yeah,
I mean, it's possible. So I don't think this is the case, but as long as we're talking about staged controversy, big happenings. So is this the Woj, Shams, Hurley Lakers of hot dogs?
What is this thing going on now, too, that I've seen that?
I don't know, but this is getting odd really fast, and I don't know where I land on this.
So explain it for people who don't, because I saw this yesterday out there. There's these subtle tweets and reports between Woj and Shams, and are they taking shots at each other? And it's just
because apparently Adrian Wojnarowski has some connections to Dan Hurley's family, to the Hurley family, I should say, because we know the Hurley family. So there might be so that might have drawn some of the sourcing in. Some of it may be an issue of, was it that the Lakers wanted Hurley, or was it that Hurley actually wanted the Lakers? There's the whole zeroing in thing of, was it zeroing in on JJ Redick, or the Lakers zeroing in as they set it up as, like awful announcing put it, as they set it up so one of the two is going to be wrong. Well, Woj actually is the one who's evidently wrong on this. Now, maybe Shams is wrong too, and there's going to be some fifth party candidate that ends up becoming the Lakers head coach. But there's this underlying sense of, is one trying to screw with the other, and somehow it turned into this Hurley Lakers thing. Like, it seemed like, oh, well, sure, he wants to go to the NBA, and he probably will. But I don't think there's a big conspiracy behind this, but there's something not quite solid about this whole thing. But I can't quite read it either. That's the thing. But it's making us all pay more attention, I guess.
Yeah.
And we had all sorts of hot takes and everything. So is this staged? Is the Chestnut thing staged? Probably not either one, but could you rule it out for publicity's sake? Because here we are during the NBA Finals talking about the Lakers and LeBron again. By the way, somehow I think LeBron has skated through this one without us talking about LeBron inserting himself in the conversation.
He did it at the beginning.
Kyrie.
Yeah, the Kyrie one.
Right. So. The usual LeBron accusation. But with regards to the hot dog eating contest, they're probably going to work it out. They'll probably have Joey Chestnut take part. And now we're all going to watch and see how he does. Is he going to be able to get another win after he was almost banned? Mm-hmm. We'll pay attention.
All right. To wrap it up, you can send us your yays or nays. Is vegan meat? If you know what I mean. I say no. It is not.
By definition, it is not.
It is not.
Not actual.
Give me a Mike Star brat and burger and hot dog over plant-based stuff.
I do want to do a taste test though. I'm genuinely curious. I always go for the tastiest thing, of course. So I mean, if it's very tasty, sure, I'm in. If it's not tasty, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say, okay, that's your Business of Sports brought to you by Security Financial Bank. Matt Miller, copycat. Matt Miller, draft analyst at ESPN. 3 minutes ago. What is Aaron Rodgers doing this week while not at Jets camp? Wrong answers only. You copycat.
Apparently somebody was streaming us.
Man, I am going to have to put a kibosh on some of it because I asked for clean stuff and non-political stuff, and that's all I'm getting right now. So we're done taking answers for that because we can't follow directions. So unless you have a good, funny one that I could say on the air.
Can we come up with some paid account somewhere? I'm sorry. For some reason, OnlyFans came into my mind. I'm like, no, let's.
What?
I'm trying to think of what's Patreon. I'm trying to think of something where you got to actually pay to access exclusive content. I'm like, it's not OnlyFans. Come on. We've already gone that route with the hot dogs.
I think Luke just let it be known he might be an OnlyFans member.
I am not an OnlyFans member.
It just
I can confirm that right now.
all right.
I've never
well,
paid any money to OnlyFans.
Oh, I never mind. I'm not going there. So
See, that's the problem. See, now everything is danger territory.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's regroup. We'll take a quick break here.
Not a moment too soon.
Right, exactly. All right, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Another project that we're doing this summer is we're trying to highlight some of the best sports towns in the area code of the 715. So no Green Bay and Madison and Milwaukee, you're not eligible for this. But if you got it's got to be a couple things on here. Got a cool sports bar. You got a cool little history to it. Some sweet rec leagues, youth sports, sweet golf court, whatever the case may be. Like Jake from State Farm last week has a page-long nomination form that he texted over for Bloomer. So we may have to go visit Bloomer. And then we're going to kind of give it, highlight some of those small towns over there too. So a few of you have reached out. We are looking for some more before we hit the road and do that too. So. Keep those coming. All right, keep them coming. Looking for outside of Eau Claire, too. Obviously, we know Eau Claire, but think a little bit outside the box there, too. So if you got any suggestions, Luke, think about it and let me know.
Will do.
All right. Keep those Bucks nominations coming here, too. We're looking for the most underrated Bucks players. We've got the Badger bracket all set. We'll reveal that later on today. Packers one is all set. We're doing a little bit of the Bucks one. We're going to do Brewers later on in the week.
I do think Bob Lanier is probably a good choice for the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Sidney Moncrief, he's on the verge of not being underrated, but I think it's more because the '80s Bucks generally get overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
They were a good team for so long, but they couldn't get to the NBA Finals because they were constantly blocked by the Celtics and Sixers. Paul Pressey's probably a decent choice as well. I mean, Jack Sikma. It's pretty solid when he was with the Bucks.
Yeah.
So I think any of those would make for good.
Now the question that, just to play devil's advocate with a couple of those names you mentioned, they are Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
Terry Cummings maybe?
G-Man, I think, said Terry Cummings in the first hour.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few of those you could roll with. And then it gets tough because then you get into like the fallow eras of the Bucks, like maybe later 70s, and then of course. Good chunk of the 90s, good chunk of the mid to late aughts and the early teens. We're just gonna say Michael Redd, but he's like the definition of Bucks.
Yeah,
not that he was, but that of that team.
Had a Larry Sanders pick earlier too. So
okay,
defensive player. Oh, Larry Sanders is gonna get remembered for not his playing. It's gonna be more the early retirement sort of thing and that. But
yeah.
Before I want to play this clip. So this was actually on ABC World News last night. Okay, it's a sports thing though.
Okay.
I think it's a really cool story. So I'm gonna play the clip here, and we'll talk about it afterwards. So audio courtesy from ABC News.
Funny tonight here, the woman who's
there you go. That's a cool story
Wow.
right there. I wouldn't blame her. I wouldn't sell it. It goes back to I always like when we get to we see auctions from like players who will sell their Super Bowl rings and that. Like I don't think I could ever do something like that. I don't care how much money I could fetch from it.
No.
I like if there's a story attached to it like that, 75,000, that's a lot of money, but I don't think I could ever sell that.
Mickey Mantle's bat.
That he hit a home run with.
Yeah. No, that if that's mine, then that is mine. I am not selling that. It would have to be for such a good cause that I'm doing so much good for something else that it's worth it then.
Or you're in some serious trouble,
Yeah,
something like that.
It made some very
or just in general, circumstances or such. But.
Could be that, yeah. But otherwise, sometimes it's good to know that you've got something that's of that level of value. Like I've got a $70,000.
You probably don't want a lot of people knowing that,
I mean, of course, it wouldn't be like, hey, guess what I got? Check this out. I'm going to throw it in the backseat of my car here while I run to the grocery store. No, but just to know that, wow, this thing it's like a baseball card. When you find out you got a baseball card that's super valuable, like my first thought isn't to sell it. It's like, wow, I got to take really good care of this because I know this is super valuable. Yeah, that's a really cool. Plus, I was wondering, how's this going to go? Like, as they're telling the story, like, what is their mom going to blow the cover? And they're like, oh, didn't know, it wasn't a boy, so that's out. No, I love that they're all like, this is even better. And then the story that's a great story. Love it.
It is. It was a really cool story too. And but yeah, I know we've kind of had that off topic. Once in a while, would you ever sell this if or sports memorabilia thing? And that when you have a story like that that's attached to that, that's priceless. You can't put a dollar amount to that.
No,
not even close. So it's not something too like, I mean, a lot of us who, collect stuff or have sports memorabilia stuff. I know you got, some old pennants up in your office and such and that, but like we end up buying that stuff or something, but this is actually like started with her. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't something they got on auction or something like that.
It was awarded. You did. I mean, she had to do something to obtain it. She had to be given it because of her performance, and she did. So that makes it even more valuable.
Right.
So yeah, that's that. I love that. I love that.
I saw that spike up here in between breaks this morning. I'm like, ooh. So I watched it. I'm like, yeah, we gotta hit that up too. It's just a cool story. Once in a while, gotta throw that in there. Not always about what is Aaron Rodgers doing.
Maybe he's trying to get the bat.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know.
I feel like Mickey Mantle, like obviously we all know, but Mickey Mantle, it seems like he is like the guy on the collector's market, whether it's his rookie card or stuff like that. It's like if you have a Mickey Mantle something, it seems like you're sitting pretty good. Like it, and this is not a knock on him, but when you talk about best players of all time, Mickey's usually not top 5, right?
He and at the same time, I think it's because of his legend as in sports culture. He was one of the last, like everybody knows who he is, baseball stars. Soon after that, the biggest stars in baseball, it wasn't like everyone wanted to grow up to be the Mick. He was pretty much the end. And I'm sure a lot of that's also because he was a Yankee. Yankees were good, won a lot of World Series titles with them. Of course, he was the all-American boy. I mean, everything was perfect, and which leads to Ball 4. And oh, really? Which is part of the reason why Ball 4 was such a controversial book at its time. But he was the last one that you feel like, and maybe it's apocryphal as people have told stories, but it feels like he's the last one that all the boys wanted to be him.
Really quick before I take a break, do have some breaking news. And I got to imagine they're going to be talking about it quite a bit because he was a very popular guest on Dan Kasper Show. Jerry West passing away.
What?
Jerry West passed away at 86 years
old.
Oh,
no.
Looks like the Clippers announced that he passed away this morning at the age of 86. So
the logo.
The logo. And I know he's been on DP Show quite a bit, so I got to imagine they're probably talking about it now. We're going to be talking about it here soon. So, but yeah, I thought he was just on the show maybe like last year or something.
Would not surprise me.
But yeah,
Oh, wow.
the logo passing away at the age of 86.
Absolute basketball legend.
I mean, a couple now. We got Bill Walton a few weeks ago, and now you got the logo passing away. So
Yep.
just saw that. So wanted to pass that along out there too. So
you can't tell the story of the NBA without including Jerry West.
No, and I know I haven't seen it. I haven't watched any of the episodes of it. Showtime, the HBO thing. But I mean, his name obviously attached to that and brought up quite a bit more too in there too. So I've seen clips of it. I've never actually sat down and watched a full episode.
Neither have I. Of course, don't have Showtime, but even if I had, I don't know if I would have gotten to it. I will say though, pretty rare for somebody to be an excellent player and an excellent executive.
I was just gonna say, I mean, who's done it better, or who's like in that category
to do? I'll say to play and then do something else, like coach,
like play at a high level and then coach or be or GM at a high level.
Like Larry Bird did the coaching,
and he was good for a short time that he did it.
Right, so he's in the discussion. Not too
Pat Riley. I mean, he didn't play. I mean, he was at Kentucky, but NBA wise, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, he was a good NBA player, but he wasn't going to make the all 75 team or something like that. As good as he wasn't that level. Jerry West is one of the top players of all time, period. And then ends up.
I think he kind of gets overshadowed because of all the Lakers, though, too. When you think about all-time Lakers,
he was one of
the first ones, but now
and he wasn't even one of the first ones. That's how much history is with that team. There were guys before him too. 14-time All-Star, 10-time first team. I know there were fewer teams back then, but 8-time NBA champion as an executive. Gosh. Go to his Wikipedia page and scroll through. And
he ruined my childhood though too. I'm just saying he got Shaq away from the Magic. So
yeah, well, that created another winner. That's what you do.
Yep.
So he's absolutely, and again, his image is the NBA. That's the logo. In case for whatever reason anyone listening is like, what? Because it's his image that is the NBA logo.
Yep. Hey, so with that, John actually asked a good question. I think I'm gonna make that a podcast topic, John. He said, "Who would be the logo if the NFL did one?"
Ooh.
That's a good one because you do know Major League Baseball, right?
Well, it's supposedly Harmon Killebrew.
Supposedly, yeah.
But it's not.
You don't think it is?
No, I think I read that it actually is. But it sure looks like it, but apparently it actually is not. On the break, I'm going to verify that just in case I'm forgetting that. NHL, I would think you'd probably have to do like Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
But then for
says, this is from MLB.com. The design includes a white silhouette of a batter, popularly thought to be Hall of Famer Harmon Killebrew. But the designer said he did not model the logo after one player and instead made it intentionally ambiguous.
That's
in
right.
Every way.
Yep, that's it.
So we could throw baseball in this one too. I already have my pick for baseball though. It'd be Griffey Swing.
Ooh, because if we're doing like an image, like a movement sort of thing, because you don't think of the face, because the point is not to be the face. It's like a silhouette.
Yep. I gotta go Griffey Swing. The follow through, when he's the pose, the statue that he is now.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking like an NFL pose,
was it the catch?
Oh, that's a good choice. Because the thing with the NBA, like the first thought is, well, it's got to be Jordan. Or remember the whole movement to try to change the logo to Kobe Bryant?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Which was kind of weird because Jerry West is the guy who drafted Kobe and was very close to Kobe.
Right.
So
right. Which I think that was also part of the, I'm sorry, I've not been in the, I'm going to say this snarkily, the Kobe deification thing that's kind of out there. I understand if you're of a certain generation, it makes more sense. But like I'd do like Jordan doing a dunk. Basically the Jordan jump band logo, if you really wanted like an iconic image, that's it.
That's it, yeah.
But given that it doesn't have to be the best player, yeah, the Griffey Swing would be a good choice for the NFL. Like again, the catch in terms of a moment, because like what's like the throwing pattern or the catching pattern or something.
I mean, Ice Bowl would be a little too much with the sneak.
Yeah, there's too many.
Yeah.
You have to be like one person.
I mean, Dwight Clark, that still moment of the catch,
because it would be hands or arms reaching up for a football.
Yes. You're not going to have a kicker or a punter, I'm sorry, but.
Right.
That's not gonna happen. And,
And
yeah,
it-
what quarterback you got? What form? I mean, you can make it generic, I guess, but I don't know.
Definitely, no offense to Favre, but definitely not the Favre arm technique.
And I don't want Peyton's throwing ducks in midair sort of thing. So, tush push.
I was going to say the Patrick Mahomes sidearm. We're
The
going
butt
with
fumble. Let's get Sanchez's butt fumble. Yeah.
Gosh, I'm picturing what the silhouette of that would look like.
I think it's got to be Dwight Clark's catch.
That
Now that I think about it, it's just. Yeah.
if you were to do anything, I think that's the right choice.
Yeah. Or I got one more, but everybody would know what it is if you want to try to. Joe Namath walking around the field, off the field of Super Bowl, holding up the number 1 finger.
Ooh, both good choices. I think I'd go with the catch, but
I think I'd still go catch.
Ugh, those are great.
Yeah.
I mean, iconography. Those
Mhm.
are that's it right there.
You know who would have been great to ask this to? Would have been Ed and Steve Sable
Yes,
because of all the images that they captured.
Yes, they would have been.
That would have been maybe they were asked that. I don't know, but that would have been a great question to ask them.
I mean, because it's the Shield. You're never going to change that.
No, it's not gonna. But yeah.
Wow, Jerry West, what a life.
All right, we got to take a break, and we got some picks and predicts coming up, including, believe it or not, the U.S. Open starts tomorrow. John Rahm's not playing because he's got an infection in between his toes, apparently.
Well, at least he's not getting divorced or not.
Wow. Wow. I did think of another potential logo picture. I might have to go, I think, in the running, Drew Pearson. 1975.
Why did you ever say that?
Just seeing if you caught on. So, hey,
Is there a do they have him like yanking the Vikings jersey as he's going for the catch?
I think it's
Like
the
the
image
full
of that
pull?
Vikings defender falling down and Pearson making just an epic catch to win the playoff game. So.
Yeah. I mean, just leaving out the push. They have the orange bouncing around as well that someone threw right at that moment. There's like an orange that comes down to the field. Like, why did someone throw that? Like, were they? Because I thought it's someone trying to throw a flag, but you wouldn't have had enough time to be like, that was a penalty. Throw an orange. Like, no, it's like someone just tossed an orange on the field.
Yeah. All right, let's do some picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire, located right next to Banbury Place. Don't forget Wednesdays trivia nights over there at the Elbow Room. We're going to be doing a podcast over there in a couple weeks too, because they are also a sponsor of the Mobile Man Cave. NBA Finals Game 3 tonight that nobody cares about. Celtics Mavericks. Who do you got?
I know this whole Kristaps Porzingis injury gets a little interesting. I'm going to go Celtics. 3-0.
I'm going to go Mavericks. I'm going to go Mavericks for mine.
Yeah.
And Hudson just literally looked at me, is like, what? And shook his head. So he's with you with the Celtics.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. This feels like a very deep Celtics team.
Honestly, Hudson's probably smarter than me in the NBA right now. So
that being said, if like we're due for that, what the bleep Celtics game where they score like 75 points total. You're like, well, guys, huh? And if that's going to happen, that's happening tonight. But I'm predicting no.
Baseball. Do the Brewers win the series with a win today?
Yes, they do. Though I know the Blue Jays just did a trade, but
Biggio is going to the Dodgers.
Having Biggio, not the biggest trade. But I think the Brewers take the series.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Brewers too. How about your Twinnies?
Gosh, Pablo Lopez got to win a game at some point, right?
I guess there's no rule that says he has to.
He doesn't have to, but you'd like to think it's going to happen. It happens to this afternoon. If they get the full games in, I know there's a bunch of storms rolling in from the west. Cue the Bob Bosold, should have built a roof. But I think the Twins win this one.
I'm hoping it doesn't, because it's going to the Express game tonight. So
yeah, could get a little dicey, but I think the rain's going to be later on if it comes. I was just reading the forecast discussion. There's a lot of dynamics to this, but I think you're going to be okay for the vast majority, if not all, of the Express game.
All right,
it'd be pretty sticky too.
Yeah. Well, that's summer, right?
Yeah,
not going to complain about
Here
it.
you go. Well, welcome to summer. At least we don't have smoke.
Right.
I'll take hot and humid over smoke any day.
Yep, I agree. All right, two really quick when it comes to the U.S. Open. We got about a minute. First of all, your pick for the U.S. Open.
Colin Morikawa.
Ooh, that's. I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele. I picked Colin Morikawa and I almost won last week, but I'm going to go. No, I don't want Xander Schauffele. I'm going to go Victor Hovland.
Okay.
I'm going to go Victor.
Not a bad choice.
So I know this is kind of different, but Scotty or the field?
I'm going to take the field, and I know Scheffler just won with the kid.
He's got the best odds since Tiger in 2009 for a major championship.
Wow. I will take the field narrowly.
He's got a plus 300 odd. Next is Xander Schauffele at plus 1100. Wow. This dude is on a tear.
He is.
They're going to make a movie out of this season for Scotty.
Who plays Scotty Scheffler?
Who's the guy that was I think he played Jerry West in the series.
Can't remember him.
How I Met Your Mother. He's in that show.
Okay, yeah. That guy.
Google
it.
Have a good Wednesday. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.